Hello guys, Jay here. Welcome back to this free SEO course. So in this video lesson, what I'm going to cover will be on technical SEO, which is one of the main pillars when it comes to search engine optimization, and it's definitely one of the things that you want to pay attention to because it can get somewhat a little bit tricky because there's a lot of things that goes within the technicality side of things. And sometimes it might not be the most fun, but to me, this is one of the most interesting things that you can work on when it comes to search engine optimization, because essentially what you're doing is you're communicating with Google, and there's a lot of ways that you can do it. And the more Google understands you, you meaning your website, the more they will be able to help you out with regards to pushing your page up on the rankings. So with that being said, now this is not going to be a full-on in-depth tutorial on technical SEO. Within this video, within this technical SEO pillar, right, I'm going to break it down into two different videos for you. The first part here will be a lot about theory, a lot about some terms, why is it important and stuff like that. And then later on, I'll be going through with you a technical SEO audit where I will show you over the shoulder so we can do it together. And I've also gotten a template prepared for you so we can do it together. But this video will mainly just be on what technical SEO is, why is it important, and a little bit of how to do it. But it will not be an in-depth one because, like I mentioned, there's a lot of stuff that goes into technicality, into technical SEO. But I will be covering some of the most common items that you'll be seeing. So it's kind of like an introduction towards technicality of SEO, and then who knows, maybe in the future I will make a in-depth tutorial on technical SEO. So with that being said, this is how I do it for within my agency. And this is all according to my experience and what has worked for me. So I hope this will be able to help you out. And with that said, let's get started. So firstly, what is technical SEO? Technical SEO to me is just basically optimizing your website's technicality. So this means to say your source code, the text on your web pages, and etc. So basically anything that goes behind what you see on your website. So what do I mean? If, let's say, for example, if I were to go to my website and I open my website up, okay, this is what I will see, right? However, if I were to, let me open it in incognito, okay, this is what I will see. However, what Google sees is if you right click and click on view page source, this is essentially all the things that's happening behind the web page. Okay, so this is the same for every individual website. And basically, this is just optimizing what is going on behind that web page so that Google can crawl and index your website a little bit better. So so this part I need to showcase my painting talent. So let me open up my handy dandy paint. Okay, so let me give you an example of what Google does. So for example, if this is your website, right? So this is your website. Okay, so what Google do is Google will send what they call spiders. S for spider. Okay, so what they will do is they will send spiders, okay, to go into your website. And earlier on, like I mentioned, there's a lot of codes written behind your site, right? Okay, what they will do is they will send all these spiders to go into your website, and then they will crawl all these codes that's behind your website. Okay, essentially this is how they understand the content of your website. What have you written? What are the header tags and other stuff like that? Okay, so this is how Google goes in and crawl your website. So when I say, or when I mention crawl, this is what I'm talking about. Spiders going into your website to crawl your website. So these are not real spiders. These are just Google bots. Okay, those are bots, and they are called spiders. Okay, so every search engine has its own spiders. Okay, essentially, all this data that you have put out on your website, right, is actually public data because anybody can just go into your website, right click and view the page source. So essentially what Google is doing is just basically, instead of them doing it manually, they are sending bots to go into your website to crawl and understand your website. Okay, so essentially this is what I mean by crawling. Now, if they are able to crawl your website, Okay, what they will do is after they crawl your website, they will then put on their search index, which is what you see on this part here. They will put it on their search index. Okay, so that is essentially how search works. Now, why is this part important here? Okay, the reason why I believe this is so important is because think of it this way. If let's say you're to start a shop, right? So imagine this is a shop that you're gonna start. Okay, so there are a few main pillars when it comes to search. When it comes to SEO, the first one will be technicality. Okay, second one will be on page and content kind of flows within there, and then you have off page. So if now you're gonna be if you're gonna be opening up a physical shop, right? So imagine if you're opening up a physical shop. Okay, so this is the square space, the space that you have within your shop, right? So what you want to do is the last thing you want to do is you don't want to go out and then start getting people coming to your shop, right? Because this is how your shop is like right now. Okay, so imagine if now your shop has, let's say you move into an NT shop and the shop has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rooms, right? So imagine you are selling furnitures, for example. Okay, so ideally you wouldn't send people to come to your shop when there is nothing in your shop, right? So that's why we don't do off-page SEO. Okay, off-page SEO first, it's to promote your shop, which in this case is your website, and you're getting people to come to your website, right? So this is what you wouldn't do. So again, I'm showcasing my amazing talent here. Okay, so imagine this is the shop that you have. Okay, and later on this will all make sense. So what you want to do is, if, for example, if you're selling a furniture shop, ideally what you would do is I'll give you the things that you shouldn't be doing first. So imagine these are all your products, right? And then let's say this is the entrance, okay? And then these are all your products. And then this is, maybe you put some of your products here as well. Okay, and then maybe here is the info counter. Okay, and then maybe this is a, I don't know, toilet, for example. Okay, it's part of my spelling. And then you have like a section where it's your credentials or about your brand, right? Okay, and then you have just like, for example, if this is blank, for example. Okay, so now what happens is whenever you send somebody, so assume that you have set this up, right? This is your shop and it's ready to go. Now what happens is when you send somebody to, what you do as an owner, imagine this is you, what you do is you then go out and you want to get people to come to your shop, right? So this way you're promoting your shop. Okay, so essentially what happens is you have your technicality set up already. Okay, this is how your shop will look like. And then you have your on page. So on page, it's every single individual page. So that's why it's called on page. You are optimizing that specific page. So imagine you have all your on page set up, okay, and you are attracting people in. So what happens is, imagine this, when somebody comes in here, okay, and they land on they go into your shop. What's going to happen is they're gonna see the toilet on the right. They're gonna see products here, and then there's also products in this room. And then for here, there's about about your brand, and then there's information. So this may not be the most ideal way to set up because it's somewhat messy in a way. So imagine if now you're opening up a physical shop. You obviously wouldn't do this because ideally what you will do is you'll organize everything out. You will know specifically what products go where, which room is going to have what. So this way, if you set it up this way, it's going to be confusing for two reasons. The first reason will be for Google, because Google, when they come into your website, this is how, like I mentioned, they're going to analyze your site as well, right? So if you have like products, but your products, you are selling chairs because you're a furniture shop, right? You're selling chairs, you're selling tables, you're selling mirrors, you're selling all kind of furnitures, right? But you have all your chairs here, and then you have your tables here, and then you also have somewhat of a tables here, and then you have mirrors here, okay? and then maybe then you have, so all this is, it's very messy. So you wouldn't do this when you're setting up a physical shop, because first of all, when it comes to the online world, it's going to be very confusing for Google to understand your website, because like I mentioned, they send spiders to crawl your website, and the more organized your site is, the better it is for them to crawl, which means to say, again, I mentioned this in my previous videos, the more you help Google, Google will help you, right? So you want to make Google's job a lot easier. So the first reason why this wouldn't work well is because Google wouldn't understand your site. Now, the second reason why it wouldn't work well is because visitors, okay, your visitors will not have a good experience with your site. So imagine if this is a physical store. What happens is when a real life customer, potential customer comes in, they're going to see your products all over the place. They're going to see products here. They're going to see all these areas, right? So this may or may not be the worst scenario, but the main idea here is that you definitely can arrange this better, right? So if, let's say this is a physical store, you're actually investing money to open up a physical store, this is what you would do. So for example, if now we have the same storefront, okay, and you have 6 rooms to work with, okay, so what you would do is, for example, if you're selling products and you're selling, different products, right? Like in the furniture aspect. So I'm using the same example. What you will do is, for example, you'll set up, like, for example, these 3 sections here to be all your products, right? And you don't just list down products here, because what happens is you have so many products. How do you arrange it or organize it so that it's beneficial for your customers? What you will do is, for example, everything kitchen related, okay, kitchen related stuff will be here, everything bedroom will be here, okay, and then let's say everything living room will be here, right? And you wouldn't stop there, because what you would do is under kitchen, there's different kind of kitchen stuff, right? You have well, I'm not in the kitchen most of the time, so let me think. You have like hobs, for example, the different, if you are selling hobs, you have, so hobs could be this area, and then within this area it could be a stove. Okay, I don't think they are the same. I don't think they are the same thing. And then over here you will have different fridge, right? And if you want to go in a little bit more deeper, you can then go into, like, even within this area, you can go into like different kind of hobs and then different kind of stores and fridge. But you get what I'm saying, right? You don't just put all your products in here and then just sell them, right? So this is for kitchen. And then for bedroom, it's the same thing. You have your beds, for example, okay, and then maybe beds is this section, and this is how you organize your physical store, right? And then you organize, maybe here will be your lamps, okay, and then etc, and then same for living room, okay, and then this is how you organize. And then maybe this section will be your information counter, okay, and then within your information counter, maybe you have a section where it's, anything where you're answering questions, for example, or a place where you're showing your maybe to answer all your questions here, FAQ, right, for example. But this is basically how you would set up something else here, okay, and then this is basically how you would set up your physical store. So imagine this is your physical store right now, right? And then over here, what you would do is you would then have somebody have a line, have a direction or navigation here, where you're telling people, if you want to browse for kitchenware, this is to kitchen, and then this is to bedroom, and then this is to living, right? So this is essentially why it's important, because when you have imagine that this is your physical store, as compared to earlier on just now the example, this will help Google to, first of all, understand your website a lot better, because you are giving them so much clear directions. You're telling them when they come to your website, or in this case your physical store, if you want to go to kitchen, this is the area. You want to go to bed, this is the area. And if you go to bed, if you want to look at beds, this is where you look at. If you want to look at lamps, this is where you look at. If you want to go to kitchen, if you want to look at hobs under kitchen, this is where you look at, and stuff like that, right? But you get what I'm trying to say here. The organization makes Google a lot easier to understand what your web page is about. That's first. And second of all, it will also help your visitors, because when they come to your, imagine again, this is a physical store, right? When they come to your physical store, look at how IKEA is set up, right? They have specific areas of where you want to go and blah, 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 and stuff like that. So now translate all of this into online, because essentially when it comes to online, your website functions just like a store. Whether you don't have to be an e-commerce store, but think of your website like a physical store. You wouldn't just publish a page up and then just leave it as it is. You wouldn't just publish a product up and then just publish as it is, because it's a lot more than that. It's a lot about thinking. It's thinking about how to structure your website, what specific sections you want to have, and then within that specific sections, do you want to go into more detail? And that's why this is so important. Okay, so this is the SHORT methodology. So why it's important? Again, it helps search engine crawl your website better, because if they are able to crawl your website better, they're going to understand your website better. Okay, so that's first. Second of all, it will help you reflect implementations faster. So if you don't already know, SEO, when you do an implementation, it doesn't reflect straight away, right? Because like I mentioned, Google have spiders coming into the websites, and guess what? They don't just crawl your website, because there's millions of websites out there. They will need, they don't have a ton of resources, because even Google has limited resources, right? So what they do is, they don't crawl all of the website whenever there's changes, right? So what they do is, depending on your crawl budget, which is something more advanced, which I'll not touch on, but basically they allocate a crawl budget, which means to say how many spiders. Okay, for example, this is an example, yeah? They can, let's say 5, for example, right? So let's assume that this is the crawl budget that they're sending you. Again, this is not a definitive number. This is just an example. So imagine this is the crawl budget that they've assigned you, which means to say they're going to assign 5 spiders to go into your website to crawl your website. Now, if your website is very big, they are not going to be able to crawl finish everything, right? Because with five spiders, maybe they can only crawl this section. Okay, and what happens is when you do implementations here, okay, it won't be reflected on Google unless the next time when they come to your website and they crawl this section, then it will be reflected. Now, why does this help? Because if you are able to help Google understand or help Google crawl your website better, they will be able to crawl this section faster and move on to different sections. Okay. However, if you don't structure your website in a way that is helpful for Google, Google will need to take some time to understand what the hell is going on with your website, right? For example, in the previous diagram that I showed, if you have all your products, but your products over here, you have all different kind of products, and then here also have different kind of products, Google kind of have to do more to understand what this website is about. And then if you make any changes here, it's because it's going to spend more time here, the changes that you do here will not be reflected as fast. Okay, albeit there's a few ways that you can speed up that process, but generally it will help you reflect your implementations faster, because like I mentioned, Google search engine optimization takes time, and what we can do is we can try to reduce the number of time it takes, and technicality of this will definitely help you reduce that number of time. Okay. Next one is it will help you increase your SEO potential. So what do I mean? When you have your technicality set up, it will help you increase your SEO potential, because what it would do, it's because your website is at a place where Google understands what your website is, your content is, because of how it's structured, right? It's going to not have that many cap. Okay, so let me give you I think to illustrate this is better if I show you give you a what not to do. So imagine if this wasn't your website. Okay, this is not how your website is set up. Your website was set up in a way that earlier on, like I mentioned, okay, this is just a smaller room. Okay, and then your website is set up in a way that, you know, whatever page you just publish. You didn't spend some time to think about what content goes here, what content goes here. You're just publishing your page, right? So what happens is, this is technicality. So early on, like I mentioned, there's a lot of things to do within SEO. There is on page, okay, and there is off page. Okay, which essentially means backlinks, right? You're building links. Now imagine you have a website set up and you focus on doing on page, and also you focus on doing off page. What happens is, will you still be able to get results? Chances are yes. However, because of how your website is set up, there will always be a limit to how much results you will get. Okay, so you can spend a lot of time doing on page, you can spend a lot of time doing off page. You will be able to see some results, but maybe the results will be very slow, right? Or sometimes it will not even reflect any results at all. Okay, now if you do this the other way around, so you fix this part here and then you focus on your on page and off page, what happens is, generally, because there's no limitations here already, the results or the ROI that you're spending on page and off page generally will be a lot higher. Okay, because there's no cap. The technicality part of your website, it's done. Google is able to understand your website well, and that's why there is no cap. So whatever that you're doing here, the ROI for the time or the budget that you're spending here, the ROI will be a lot faster, a lot better. Okay, because the results that you're getting essentially is kind of like working with a website that has the potential unleashed and there's no SEO cap. Okay, so that's why SEO, the technicality part of it is important. And the next thing, which is I see most common, is you will have an edge over most websites. Now, most websites, if you're within a space that's not that competitive, or it really depends on the market that you're in and also the competition that you have. But most of the time, websites don't focus on technicality. Okay, they focus on keyword research, they focus on page, they focus on building links, especially building links, right? So if you are able to have technicality, sometimes it will give you an edge over most websites, because most websites don't focus a lot about technicality. Okay, and these are usually what will help you, will make the difference between you ranking on page 1 or page 2. And also this could also be the difference of you getting into position 1 as compared to just on position 3. Okay, because technicality is one thing that a lot of websites don't focus on. Okay, simply because there's a lot of stuff that goes on and it requires a lot of work, and also it's not as simple as it is, especially if your website is big. So generally, the rule of thumb, the bigger your website is, meaning to say the more products you have, the more pages your website has, the more content your website has, the more important it is. Now, does it mean to say it's not important for smaller websites? In my opinion, I think technicality is important. However, if your website is smaller, you don't have to pay that much attention to optimizing your technicality. You do want to still have the basic foundation set up, but you don't have to go in and find out what more you have to do for technicality, because if your website is small, chances are there will not be a lot more problems. However, if your website is big, it's huge, the chances of your website having technicality issue will be a lot more prominent, and that's why you need to spend a little bit more time with regards to technicality side. Okay, and so this is why it's important. Now, the next thing here is you can see website structuring and architecture, which is kind of one of the things that I mentioned earlier on. And you basically want to do your website architecture or structuring and spend some thought into this. So this can happen for main two groups of people. So if you already have a website and you already have your website laid out, okay, I would urge you to sit down and think about how you're organizing your website right now. If the approach towards you for your website is just publishing any page, so every single time you have a content, you just publish it, right? If that is your thought process, then you might want to include this within your workflow, because again, this will help you decide what you want to do with your specific content, with your specific section. And this will also help Google better understand what you're trying to do with your website, right? So this applies to you if you already have a website. Now, if you don't have a website, this is a very good starting point, because then you can sit down and ask yourself, what content do you want to be on your website? If you have products, how are you going to structure all these products within your website? What is the organization going to be like? Okay, so I'm going to give you a method of what we do at our agency. What is website structuring and architecture? Is basically organizing your website and content so that it benefits both your users and search engines. So the way of how we like to do it, how I like to do it, is called tree structuring. Okay, tree meaning to say the trees that you see outside, outdoors. Okay, and it also consists of 3 factors. Okay, nice wordplay. But this is basically, you will see a lot of time people talk about siloing, people talk about spoke, hubs, pillars and things like that. So all these essentially is the same kind of concept, but in terms of how I like to make it, I want to make it simpler. So for me to understand it, I use the tree structure, which consists of 3 things. Okay, stem, branch, and leaves. Okay, so essentially what makes up the tree, it's stem, its branch, and its leaves. Okay, so showcase your amazing painting talent. Okay, so I'm going to showcase my talent to you again. So let me... Okay, so what makes up a tree, right? So the tree will have its stem, and then it will have its branches, and then on that individual branch, it will have its leaf. Okay, this is a very weird looking tree, but you get why. You get what I'm trying to say here, right? So this is essentially what makes up your website. So think of your website like a forest, okay? And your website is made up of different trees, right? Different trees. Okay, so this is the concept. So branch, and then you have leaves. So if I can draw my leaves better, okay. So this is, yeah. Yeah, this is the concept of the tree concept. The one tree is made up of a stem, a branch, okay, different branches, and leaves. Okay, so how do you apply this? So let me give you an example. And there isn't a black and white or a concrete, this is what you should follow, because with every website or with your own website, the products that you're selling can be different. The services that you're offering can be different. So you want to just use this concept and apply to whatever that you're offering, and think about what kind of content you want to put up. So let me give you a few examples. I'll give you 2 examples for just to show a couple of examples. So let's say, for example, my agency is an SEO agency, right? So let's say the services I'm offering is SEO. Right, so in my website, what I want to do, what I want to put, it's basically I want to identify the pillars, okay, the core things about what makes up SEO. So for example, if this is going to be SEO, okay, so the main pillars that make up SEO will be, let's say my first branch, okay, will be on, early on, like I mentioned, technicality. Okay, maybe I should use something like this. Okay, this will be my main stem here. Okay, and then within technicality, what makes up? Within technical, what are the different things that I can talk about in technical stuff, right? So I can think about let's say, for example, indexation. Okay. There's indexation issues, and then there is let's see page speed, for example. Page speed is on this branch, okay, and then maybe there is another branch. I'm not going to list down everything. I'm just going to show you some examples, maybe 3. Let's see, what else can I talk about? Let's say canonical text, for example. Okay, so obviously when you're doing this, you will know, like, within your industry, what are the different pillars, and then within their pillars, what are the different branches. Now within this branch, what you can do is you can then organize it in a way better by adding leaves. So within page speed, for example, okay, within page speed, I know that there is page speed for mobile. Okay, okay, there is mobile page speed. Okay, this is so usually what I do is I do it in a Excel sheet, a Google sheet, so that it's easier. And then I also know that there is desktop page speed. Okay, and then basically there's any other type of page speed, right? Everything with regards to page speed will fall under this branch. Okay, and then canonical tag, there will be let's say self canonical. And then let's say incorrect or missing canonical, for example. Okay, and then indexation can be XXX and XXX. Okay, but essentially you can see over here, this entire thing is what makes up this tree. Okay, so this is one tree. Within this tree, there will be technical. Now, if I were to duplicate this, there I can draw another tree. Let's see. Okay, I can draw another tree, and this tree will be about on page, for example. Okay, and then on page there will be specific things like page title. Okay, there can be meta description, MD. I'm going to just put down MD. There can be let's see. So this is one, this is two branches. One more can be header text. Okay, and then within meta description, you know, what are the things that I can mention within meta description? What are the things that I can mention within page titles? Maybe page title optimization, maybe click-through rate, click-through rate, for example. And then under headers, there could be header ones, header twos, and stuff like that, right? But this will make up my second tree. Okay, so essentially, this is how you want to think about when you are structuring out your website. Okay, so obviously, this is not a set and done method, because again, you just want to use this concept to better understand how you can organize your website better. So this way, it will allow Google to, first of all, when they come to your website, they will know this structure well, because chances are when you're talking about technicality, this page will appear, 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 and somehow they are linking within one another. Okay, they are linking within one another, right? Because everything here is talking about technicality. And if you have this, and you have this, and you have, let's say, off page, together what happens, this gives Google an understanding of, okay, so now your website is talking about search engine optimization, because within technicality, you're talking about page speed. Within page speed, you're talking about mobile, and all this falls under technicality. Similar with on page, similar with off page, right? So this is how it's going to help you with making sure Google understands your website better. That's first. Second of all, now you want to think of how you're going to organize this on the website, on your website, right? Do you want to have a section where it's, technicality? Okay. Do you want to have a section where it's on technical SEO, and then within technical SEO, you can put under mobile, you can put page speed, okay? And then you can put indexation, okay? And then within indexation, you can maybe have something like XXX, okay? Everything about indexation, and then page speed, XXX, okay? And then basically you want to organize this on your website. So now you can see that this is not just a, oh, I want to talk about this, let me just publish this, right? Because now there's a more organizational structure towards how you are producing content on your website. Okay, and then so this is one example. I'm going to give you another example of why this is beneficial. So with a recent client that we have, their website, what happens is they have like, for example, their services. Okay, and then within their services, they have service 1, they have service 2, they have, service 3, for example. And then within service 1, this is the sub thing that they're talking about, this is the sub thing that they're talking about, right? So all these pages are important because we want to be able to rank, you want to be able to rank your services, right? So whenever somebody searches for your service, you want to be able to show up. So this section here, this is very important because they want to be able to show up when somebody searches for their services. Now they do have another section which they want to, as a company, they want to publish industry news or any company updates, for example. Now, when it comes to company updates, the SEO ROI might not make a lot of sense because number one, if you are a small company, or if you're just publishing, latest company outings or company photos and things like that, they don't necessarily have a they don't necessarily have a benefit, because chances are people would not be searching for, the company ABC's outing, right? So what happens is all this like outings, for example, Okay, company outings. Okay, so they have like outing 1, outing. So all their outings will be here, and they don't need to have a leave here. So you don't, the cool thing about this concept, right, is you don't require a leave if you don't want to. Okay, ideally the leaves is basically just for you to give you a way to be more organized if you have so many different topics and subtopics that you're talking about. But basically what happens is every single time when they publish a outing, right, or company news, which doesn't serve a SEO benefit to them, because nobody's searching for, you know, company ABC outing, for example. All their but they still want to be able to showcase their outings on their website, because whenever somebody comes to the website, they want people to see that they are a legit brand, having like company parties and things like that. It's just that on the search engine level, nobody will be searching for that. So if you have that structure out, they can have all their posts here, okay, and they publish all their posts within this folder, right? So what we can do is we can then go in and tell Google that Google doesn't have to index this page. Okay, Google doesn't have to worry about this page, because this page won't serve any search engine benefits, because like I mentioned, nobody will be searching for company ABC's outing, for example. And this way, they can still publish their outing, but which will showcase their branding towards their customers, but they will also be in favor from search engine point of view, because these pages, they are not needed to be on Google, is not on Google. So that's why Google will not be spending time here. Okay, and because they are not spending time here, guess what? They can spend more time here. And this is more important because these services pages are what needs to be appearing on Google, right? So this is why it's important, because if you structure up your ways like that, versus if you don't. So let's say, for example, if you publish all your outing pages here, okay, within the same tree, okay, what happens is then it's going to be very confusing, because there will be pages that is really not required to be on Google, but they are still being crawled anyway. And instead of Google focusing on important services here, they also are crawling pages here which are not needed. So if you eliminate this, then Google can just focus on this alone. Google can just focus on this part alone. Okay, so this is why this is very important, and I hope my amazing painting talent can illustrate that. So with that being said, next up will be common technical terms. So think of Google like a foreign person, okay, and think of how you would communicate with Google. So let's imagine if now you are reading a piece of content. Okay, you're holding a piece of paper, you're holding a book, and you're reading it, and you are able to understand it, because if you're speaking English, you understand the language of English. However, if you pass this book to a blind person, okay, you might be able to understand whatever that you have just read, but to the blind person will not be able to know what is on this book, because the form of communication is different. Okay, in order for the blind person to know the contents of that book, you will need to install Braille, so that the blind person will be able to basically touch and understand the content within the book. So this common technical terms is basically the terms that you will be speaking to Google and providing Google with this Braille. So what do I mean? Let me show you another example. So if you go to Google right now, right? Okay, so imagine this is your website, okay, and you design your whole individual, you design your page, right? Most likely what will happen is you will design a website, okay, you or your company will design a website, and then you will publish your website, right? So this looks good. There are content here, which obviously if you are a human being, if I land on your website, I will be able to understand all this, okay? So I'll be able to understand easy and secure. I'll be able to read the content just like how you would read it, because you are a human being, right? So this is communicating towards human beings, which is awesome. However, within the world of SEO, you are not only communicating to human beings, you are also communicating to Google. So if you only got this part down, if you only manage to design a very well-looking site, and you don't go in and optimize this page source here, then what you're doing is you're communicating very well with visitors, but but Google doesn't understand what you're trying to say to it, because there are certain stuff that are confusing here, because essentially this is Google's braille in a sense, right? They are using this as a braille to understand what you're trying to tell them on your website. So these common technical terms will be the terms that you'll consistently be seeing again and again, and this is just from a basic standpoint, because like I mentioned, if I were to go into very advanced stuff, and even I myself am not 100%, like I don't know everything about technicality of the website, because it's just a very broad topic, but these will be the most common terms that you need to know, so that you'll be able to identify whether your website has certain issues and what to do with it, right? So essentially this is a very interesting topic, because essentially technicality will mean to say that you are trying to communicate to Google and using their braille, okay? So these are some common technical terms that you will come into contact with, and also with our next video, which is a technical audit of your website, right? These are some of the terms that you will see again and again. So let me explain to you what these technical terms are. These are basic instructions that either Google is telling you or you are telling Google, okay? Some of it's unintentional. So for example, you may have a canonical tag that is wrongly placed, but you didn't do that, okay? Unfortunately, this is how Google understands this is what Google perceives when they look at your website. And when they look at your website and there is an incorrect canonical tag, Google only knows this is what you're trying to tell them, okay? They do not know that it's placed unintentionally, for example, okay? So what is canonical tag? Now, canonical tag, it's basically a directive or an instruction to tell Google to focus on, to let Google know which page should Google be focusing on. So, for example, if you have a website, okay, if you have a web page that sells boots, let me do this better. So if you have a website that sells boots, or you have a page that sells boots, okay, and then you have a black color and a white color, okay, so this is white boots, okay. So what happens is, if you have a product page and you have a service page, okay, basically whatever page that have similar variations. So if you think about it, right, the content on this black boots page and the white boots page will be almost 90% the same. Why? Because only the color is different, right? Okay, so this way, if you publish this website out, what Google will know is Google will look at this and they will know that majority of this page will be the same. Okay, and hence one thing that Google doesn't like duplicated content. So you want to make things as unique as much as possible. So if you have a canonical tag, okay, a canonical tag is basically is basically telling Google which page you want Google to focus on. Okay, so if you have a canonical tag on this page and the canonical tag it's boots, okay, and this canonical tag is boots. If you have a canonical tag that is pointing to the boots page, what you're telling Google is, hey Google, this two page, you don't have to focus on it, because mainly what this content is coming from here. So this is the main page you need to focus on when you look at this two page. Okay, essentially you're telling Google to focus on boots, this boots page, and these two are just a very close variation. Essentially, it's kind of like how to tell Google which twin you want to focus on, right? So this is basically a language to tell Google which page you want to focus on. Now, if you don't have a canonical tag, what happens is, basically because these two content are basically kind of like the same, then it's going to be duplicated content. Now, if you have one page or two page like this, is it fine? It's perfectly fine. However, like I mentioned earlier, the bigger your website is, the more pages your website has, the more issues we'll have. Like if this is for one website, imagine your website has over 300 products. This is going to be a times 300. Okay, and if you blow that out of proportion, okay, if you blow this out, if your website out of 100%, okay, majority of your content are products. This means to say majority of your content will be duplicated content, okay, because a bulk of your percentage of a website makes up of duplication products. Okay, so you want to use canonical tag to basically tell Google to identify which ones is the one Google should be focusing on. Okay, so this is canonical tag. Now, again, there's a lot of usage with canonical tag, but I'm not going to dive into detail because I think this is just the foundation that you should know. Okay, so this is canonical. Now, the next one will be pagination. So paginations will basically be paginations are basically if you have like site.com / product page 1, and then you have site.com / product page 2. Okay, so these are paginations. Sometimes you will be able to see site.com / page exclamation mark search, equals 1, for example. Basically, anything that is auto-populated with pages, right? So imagine if now you have a blog page and you have multiple blog posts. You will have a page where it lists down all the blog posts, and then you can click on right-click, and then you can go to the next page, which will show page 2, page 3. Similar with products, any kind of pagination page, it's called pagination, right? And with paginations, there is not really something that I can explain with right now because I think that will take a lot of time. It will be easier if I can show you with the audit. Hopefully, we'll be able to find we will be able to audit a website that has pagination issues, so I can show you some of the stuff that you need to do. But basically, this is with regards to pagination. Okay. Now, next thing, robots.txt. So robots.txt is a file that Google will go into to basically start crawling. So one of the main, another one that I want to include in here is sitemap. Sitemap, not really with regards to technicality. So robots.txt is basically if you go to your website. Okay, so if you go to any website, let me see, dental clinic near me. Okay, if I open up a website here. Okay, if you open up a website and you go to robots.txt. Okay, this is the robots text file. Okay, and most of the website, ideally all of the your website should have it, because this page, this section here is basically what language you're telling to Google again, right? So user agent in this part is basically us stating what user agent. So for example, if it's all the search engines, in this case, you are telling Google or you're telling all the search engines to avoid crawling this site, and all this site is okay, right? And then you have a sitemap here. Basically, that is how robots.txt works. It's another language to tell search engines what they can do and cannot do. And again, with all this, is basically to help them do their job better. And again, if you help them, they will help you. So this is with regards to robots.txt. Okay, so that is robot.txt. And then next up, you have index and no index. So what is no index and no index? This is pretty straightforward. If you have a website, okay, if you have website A and website B, and website A have essentially nothing. Website B has no index. Okay, so for every page that you publish, what it will be an index page. Index meaning to say you're telling Google this page, Google, you can go ahead and crawl this and put it on your database. You can go ahead and put it on your results page, which is what you see over here. Okay, so this is by default. However, if you don't want Google to put it up on their database, then you want to have a no index tag here. Okay, and this no index tag is basically telling Google, hey Google, do not put this on your database. Okay, And again, the reason why you want to do that is because some pages again have no value in terms of being found on Google, because they are either thin in content, or what I mean by thin in content, okay, that means pages that are not necessarily going to be ranking for anything, like for example your landing page. Okay, your landing page, the main reason why you create a landing page is to convert people, and usually landing page having how much content doesn't matter, right? Because at the end of the day, if you can convert people on your landing page with 100 words versus if there's no words at all, that is the purpose of the landing page. However, if let's say you have a 200 words landing page, okay, and you let Google index it, okay, what happens is Google doesn't care whether if this is your landing page. They don't know the purpose of a landing page. They only know, again, what you serve to them. And in this case, this content, this entire source code, there's only 200 words. It's not optimized properly. The page titles are duplicated and stuff like that. What they will look at is they will look at all those negative features, okay? And they will put this on their index. And because you have a page like this, there is not quote-unquote quality to them, it will affect the technicality and the performance of your website. Okay, now again, if you have one page or two pages like this, is this perfectly fine? Yes, it is. The more pages you have, the more the chances of these pages appearing will be a lot more. So landing page is just one of them, as an example. So with pages that follows this kind of portfolio, like this kind of characteristics, you want to then put a no index tag and tell Google that, hey Google, this page, just ignore it. Don't put it on the database. It's not important for you. Okay, because again, nobody's going to be searching for your company's landing page, right? Because it serves no purpose. Okay, unless it's a competitor trying to do some research on you. But again, if it's a competitor, these are not your real users anyway, right? So that's why you want to have a no index tag. Okay, so this is for no index. Now the next thing will be follow and no follow. So again, this is also a code that you put. So let me draw two websites. So again, this is a code that you put on your web page. Okay, essentially all of the links, all of the links that you are putting on your website will be naturally a follow link. So there's no such thing as you're telling Google that this is a follow link, because by default it's a follow link. Now, what is a link? A link will be basically, if let's say this is website A, okay, and this is website A1, this is A2, that means this still falls under the same website, but this is website B. Okay, if you have a link linking from, let's say for example, this is about fitness, right? And then when you're talking about fitness, you want to basically cite a relevant post like Wikipedia, for example. Okay, you will have a link from here. So when people click on this link, they will go to this. So this is called an external link, where you are linking out externally. Okay, so this is a link. And follow and no follow applies to links. Okay, applies to links. Okay, so this is an external link. Now, if you are talking about fitness here and you have another page talking about nutrition, okay, and you link from this page, okay, maybe with the word nutrition, okay, and you link from this link to this page. This is called an internal link, where you are linking internally, right? So no follow and do follow applies on links, whether internally or externally. And what is the meaning? The meaning is, what is the instructions? The instruction is basically you're telling Google, hey Google, to disregard the link, what we call link juice. Link juice. Okay, so disregard any kind of matrix or any kind of link juice, and ignore all the link juice. So if you have a no follow, you're basically telling Google to, hey Google, this is just a reference. We don't want to pass any importance or any link juice towards this page. Okay, we want to keep everything within this page. Okay, so by default, all the links will be do follow. Okay, so there's no instructions for you to indicate that this is a do follow link. Okay, the only instruction that you can put for a link is no follow, where you're telling Google do not follow or do not pass any link equity from this page to this page or from this page to this page if this is a no follow link. So that is for follow and no follow. Okay. So the next thing will be status code. Now status code is basically when search engines spiders are trying to access a website or a web page, and when they land on the page, this is a status code, and status code is basically telling you what happened to that page. So these are the common status code that you will see, but I will not go through all of the status code because I only want to go through the common one that you see. Because again, this is not a full technical tutorial, and you can see we have already taken a little bit of time here. So with status code, right, 200 status code means everything is fine. Everything is good to go. That means that page is live, everything is fine. Okay, so if you see a status code is 200, everything is okay. These are pages that are currently live right now. 301 means to say something is permanently redirected. So if you see a 301 status code, what happens is if you have a website that is like this, okay, if you have this page and this is an old page, right? And then you basically deleted this page and created a new page. And what happens is whenever somebody comes into this page, it gets redirected to this page. Okay, so this is a 301 redirect, where if somebody clicks on this old page link, okay, the URL of this link, or they visited this old web page, they automatically gets redirected to this new page. Okay, and this is a permanent redirect. Now there is a 302 redirect. Okay, 302 redirect. 302 redirects are temporary redirects. So sometimes, let's say for example, if you are browsing a, if you are browsing a, you land on a website and this is a global website, right? Global, for example, and then you will get redirected to, let's say, the Singapore version of the site. Okay, so for example, if you land on here, where's my pen? If you land on this page, okay, all these belongs to the same website, yeah? So if you land on this global page, what they will do is they will detect that you are from Singapore. They will automatically redirect you to the Singapore version of the site, right? So this is usually a temporary 302 redirect. So 301s are permanent, 302s are temporary. And then you have 404s. 404s are basically, you have a page that you were working on, okay, and for some reason you have deleted this page. This page no longer exists, okay. And when somebody comes to your page, comes to this page, they get served a 404 error. Okay, 404 meaning to say that page is no longer available, and when somebody accesses it, it returns a 404 error. Okay, so these are the common ones that you'll see. Obviously, there's a lot of other status code which I will not go into, and even I don't know all of them because most of the time I'm also spending time to research and look at these technical terms. But essentially, these are the common technical terms that you'll be seeing, especially when we are doing our audit in the next video. Okay, so what's next? In the next video, I'll be doing a audit and show you a step-by-step on what to look out for, how to actually do the audit, what to look out for, and how to make sure that your website is technically sound. And I hope this will be able to help you out, right? So with that being said, that's all. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's a little bit long, I know, but I hope you'll be able to get as much understanding about technicality, and really it's not that boring, because technicality is one of the most interesting things to look at, because you are essentially communicating with Google. So with that being said, that's all. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoy it. Stay safe, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.